Hello, and welcome to Mac&Mac's College football program right here on the Grueling Truth Network. I'm Sean McCormick, and along with my son, Ryne, we're going to be talking some NCAA football. 3 games really stand out when you look at the weekend schedule. Number 7, Stanford, number 10, Washington, premier teams of the Pac-12. Second game, and yes, Ryne, it's coming out of the Big Ten. I know how much you're a Big Ten lover. Not. Number 8, Wisconsin, will be in the big house, taking on the number 4 Michigan Wolverines. And what will some are going to call the best game of the weekend, surprising or maybe not so surprising, third-ranked Louisville is at Clemson, 5th-ranked Tigers. A great Death Valley matchup. It's the ACC offer for the best in football this weekend. Now the other games, which should turn out fairly interesting, we've got Florida, Tennessee, the 11th-ranked Volunteers, traveling to Georgia for a clash with the number 25 Bulldogs. And then what could be a trap game. And we talked about this a little before we started the show, Ryan. You're not much on this game, but we're going to talk about it anyway. Oklahoma at 1-2 on the year. They're visiting number 21 TCU. Also, number 9 Texas A&M is at South Carolina. Now, we've kind of left out the top 2 teams. You know, Alabama, Ohio State, hosting Kentucky and Rutgers, respectively. We'll talk a little bit about that later, and I mean just a little because those are probably going to be big blowouts. Now, before we get into that game discussion, I did want to just mention about 2 big shakeups occurring at the start of the week. Cue up Ray Charles as Les Miles is told by LSU, hit the road, Jack. Second, and definitely more expected, Brian Kelly fires defensive coordinator Brian Van Gorder after the Irish lose to Duke. Yeah, Duke. Wow. Brian, what's your take on LSU giving Miles the boot?
Well, I think Les Miles got a raw deal, given that he was in his 12th year with the Tigers, 750 winning percentage, over 100 wins and a national title, and I don't think it's fair to fire mid-season.
I was kind of shocked that they would do that. I mean, again, 114 wins while at LSU, plus the fact I guess LSU just wants to throw some money around because there's going to be $10 million in Les's pocket now because of that. That's the buyout.
Yeah, I just didn't. I didn't think it was a fair deal to treat a coach like that at a big school like an LSU. I mean, especially competing with Alabama year in and year out. And Nick Saban basically voiced his opinion and thought he got a raw deal as well.
Yeah. Well, coaching circles are going to stick together, but I have to be in agreement there. I mean, I think that LSU is going to rue the day. Top coaches like Les Miles aren't available all that often, and I don't know what they're thinking. Somebody got upset somewhere. That's all I can say.
Well, let's just say that Les Miles won't be without a job for very long.
And now getting to Van Gorder, a lot of folks are saying it's a failure in recruiting more so than Van Gorder's schemes, but you have the players you have, you've got to play better. And the fact that they let Duke beat them in South Bend, I mean, that's horrible.
Well, and I think it's something that as a head coach, Brian Kelly had to make a move. It might not have been one of the moves that he wanted to make. It might not have even came from him. It might have came from an insider that said somebody needs to go or you're going to go. And I think he's just trying to shake things up. However, on the recruiting aspect, you're getting, and we talked about this in previous shows, at Notre Dame, it's hard to get the superior athletes that like an Alabama or an OSU can get because of the difficulty getting into the school academically.
Well, I knew that they have academic standards a little higher. Stanford does as well, and we've talked about that. The Cardinals seem to be able to bring players in and they perform. Of course, they haven't, they always have that one mishap, it seems, throughout the year, towards the end of the year. But, again, that's got to be a non-factor for Notre Dame. I mean, the big thing is 103rd in total defense so far this year. And I'm in total agreement with you. I think that somebody, the AD, the president of the university, somebody is coming to Brian Kelly and say, get it going, or you're going to get going.
Well, and I'm kind of anxious to see, how the rest of the season rolls out for Notre Dame. And, if things keep playing out the way they have been the past 3 weeks for the Fighting Irish, Brian Kelly might be on the block come the end of the year.
Yeah, I just don't see Kelly lasting. If they have a losing record, of course, their schedule softens up a little bit, but everybody thought Duke was going to be an easy game.
Now, something to think about, too, with Les Miles firing, does he get a chance to go to Notre Dame at the end of the year?
That's something that would be an interesting conversation to have with the Habs up at Notre Dame. They're not going to tip their hand though, but I can see Miles going to a top-notch program, and Les Miles could fit in at Notre Dame, I think.
Oh, absolutely. I totally agree with you on that.
And thank you for listening to Mac&Mac on the Drooling Truth Network. Let's start talking this week. And we're going to just this is just glossing over because they're ranked number 1 and number 2. We're talking Alabama and Ohio State. Both win big this week. I mean, Alabama has Kentucky. OSU has Rutgers. It just is not even worth really talking more than the fact that the only hope Rutgers has is that the Buckeyes continue that slow start and at least don't get it kicking out until the third quarter.
Yeah, and I think you just spoke longer on Alabama and Ohio State than you're going to see them be close in the ball game. I think these games are going to be pretty much over at halftime, and you might be able to get to see some of the second stringers.
Okay, now let's talk about the first. We'll start off with a really nice matchup, and this is a Friday night game. Number 7 Stanford at number 10 Washington. The Huskies actually favored by 3 points here. Husky Stadium hosting the first meeting of 2 top 10 teams in nearly 2 decades. Washington, are the Huskies up to task? A soft non-conference schedule, Ryne, and that's really being kind because they beat Rutgers, they beat Idaho, and they beat Portland State. Now, they did have a close win against Arizona. They're 4-0. Chris Peterson and the Huskies, does the first loss come to the visiting Cardinal?
Well, and this is a big test for that high-powered Washington offense. Stanford's defense, not as good as they have been in years past, but still good. They're averaging 200 yards on the ground, and I don't think you can take that away from McCaffrey. You know what you're going to get when you face Stanford every week. You're going to get the steady dose of McCaffrey. Stanford's quarterback, Ryan Burns, is completing 62% of his passes, and I actually just read something today that 21 of those passes have been converted for first downs throughout the first 3 games.
And, it's funny you mention that because Stanford's coach, David Shaw, he was impressed overall. He didn't like the game against UCLA. I mean, it was a great comeback win, beating UCLA in front of that big crowd at the Rose Bowl. But he actually came out and said he was most impressed with the ability of Burns in overcoming the negatives throughout 3.5 quarters and engineering that game-winning drive.
Yeah, it was a good one for him. You got Jake Browns coming into this game, completing 71% of his passes, 904 yards and 14 touchdowns for the quarterback from Washington. And I look in this game, to be honest with you, I like the Huskies. Is like I said, Stanford's defense is not as good as they have been in the past, and I look for the air attack to take control of Stanford. I've got Stanford 35-27. Or I'm sorry, I've got Washington 25-27.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to say Stanford just because of the experience, because of McCaffrey, the ability for the Cardinals to hold on to the ball. I'm going 24-17, the Cardinal over the Huskies. And you are listening to Mac&Mac's College Football Program on the Grueling Truth Network. I'm Sean McCormick, and my son Ryne McCormick's right here. Ryne, let's go. Let's travel cross country. We're out leaving the Pacific Northwest now, going into the Georgia area. Bulldogs, number 25, hosting number 11 Tennessee. Now the Volunteers, the Vols are 3 to 3.5 point favorites, depending on where you're looking. Butch Jones and crew. We got to mention they got the monkey off Tennessee's back last week against Florida. Does that mean it's a letdown week for them?
I don't know if it's necessarily a letdown week. It's not a blowout week, that's for sure. I mean, they're going to Georgia. I mean, both teams coming in, 4-0. Or I'm sorry, Georgia coming in 3-1 with a brutal loss to Ole Miss, a very good Ole Miss team last week. And the thing that stands out to me, Georgia's defense is averaging giving up 31 points a game, which is a lot of points.
It is, and the one plus that the Bulldog defense has, they're going to be facing freshman quarterback Jacob Eason. Now, he was cool and collective, played as a veteran collegiate player during the first 3 weeks. Last week against Ole Miss, he looked like the nervous freshman, and which of those two Easons show up to play? That's a big question.
Well, and with Georgia coming off the embarrassing loss at Ole Miss last week, I mean, I look for them to come back home in front of the home crowd, as the Georgia Dome is a pretty tough place to play in. And I actually like Georgia in this one, 31-24.
Yeah, I'm going Georgia too. I think Tennessee has a letdown, and they really shouldn't, because they've got a tough SEC schedule coming up. I mean, there is no real easy SEC schedule for anyone. But the Volunteers, playing Alabama in a couple of weeks, they need this win. And I don't think Butch has his team getting ready. I think they're going to have a little bit of a hangover from that big victory in Tennessee, in Knoxville last week. I'm going to go Georgia 26-20. Here's an interesting game as well. Number 9 Texas A&M at South Carolina. The Aggies, 17.5 point favorites. They're rolling along. Now, the one thing I want to mention, and I'm going to ask you your opinion, Ryne, it's September the last few years for Texas A&M has been great, but once the month of October comes, it's a killer month. 2014. They were 0-4 at harvest time. Last year, they go 2-2. Now, what about this year? Does Texas A&M take care of business? And does Trevor Knight, the Sooners transfer, and running back Trayvon Williams, that 1-2 offensive punch for the Aggies? I can't see them doing anything but rolling South Carolina. What do you think?
No, in the way they looked, and I was wrong on the pick last week, picking Arkansas, and I thought their defense would step up, giving up 10 points going into half. I thought they had a chance, and Texas A&M Aggies offense just took over. I mean, Trayvon Williams is just too much for them. I look for Texas A&M to roll this game, 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, I've got them not a blowout, but I've got a 38-24 margin there. I think South Carolina will give them a little punch here and there.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be one of those games where Texas A&M gets up and pretty much doesn't look back. You're going to get a backdoor score towards the end of the game from South Carolina. But I look for it to be a 2-touchdown game.
Now, Oklahoma at number 21 TCU. You didn't really think this should be one of the games we talk about. Why not?
Well, you got Oklahoma. Kind of lost confidence in Oklahoma with their performance against Ohio State. Ohio State just coming out and putting the pedal to the metal, unless Ohio State's a little bit better than I'm giving them credit for.
TCU as well, struggling a bit. The Horned Frogs lost that opening game to Arkansas, and it kind of threw them for a loop. They were hoping to be right up there and remain in the national title picture. A win over Oklahoma, although the Sooners aren't ranked, I think that at least gives them confidence to be in the hunt for the Big 12 title. By the same token, Bob Stoops is pretty much thinking this is a must-win for the Sooners to remain in Big 12 contention.
And it is a must-win for Oklahoma. Going to TCU is never easy, as Gary Patterson always has his teams ready to play. I think you're going to see a lot of scoring in this game. I do like TCU at the end. I'm going to say 44-30.
I'm going to go a little bit higher. I think TCU in a close one. TCU is averaging 42 points a game, Oklahoma at 35. Where is the Big 12 defense? Again, that's my little niggly every week. It just seems I would not want to be a defensive coordinator in the Big 12 because what are you supposed to? Let's they always list a number of things needed to win, and I just see their defensive scouting reports saying, let's hold them to 35. And
I think as a defensive coordinator in the Big 12, you're going to sleep every night after those games on Saturday, wondering, come Monday, am I going to have employment at this university?
I'm going to go a little closer. I say TCU gets over 48 to 45. I think it's going to be. You would probably watch this game because you like the shootouts, and it's going to happen.
And you're going to see a lot of points, and if you're into the high-flying offenses and like to see a lot of points, this is a game to definitely stay tuned for.
Okay, now let's go to the Big Ten. Big Ten, by the way, you are listening to the Grueling Truth Network, Mac&Mac College football program. The Badgers and Wolverines, number 8 Wisconsin at number 4 Michigan. I'm surprised at this. The Wolverines are favored by 10.5 points. I know it's the big house. I know, but Badgers versus Wolverines are feisty varmints and more so as players on field turf. I think it's going to be a closer game than this, and I think it's going to be a lower-scored game. Paul Chryst, after coming a couple years ago from Pitt, he was just so-so for the Panthers. Nobody at Pitt really lost any sleep when he left. He just did not show them anything, but it seemed like he came back to Wisconsin where he was the offensive coordinator before. He's starting to show improvement in a big way in Madison. Now, everyone's talking about Jim Harbaugh, of course, but Chryst is building a competitive Big Ten title team in the Wolverines. Is Michigan actually 11 points better than Wisconsin?
No, I don't believe they are. When you look at Wisconsin, getting wins at LSU, getting wins at Michigan State last week, which is a big win. And, you got to kind of look at that big win like that. Are they still going to be, ready to go at the beginning of the week? It could be the same position that Tennessee's in this week.
Yeah, it could. Now Wisconsin rolls into Michigan State last week. Michigan State having that hangover from its meeting with a bunch of Irish in South Bend the previous week. Badgers rolled. This week could be the same for Chryst's team. Are they going to be ready, and are they going to be up for a big game here in the Big Ten?
Well, you're gonna see a battle in the trenches, that's for sure. As both teams pride themselves on defense and running the ball. Michigan's actually averaging 239 yards a game this year on the ground. They are pretty stingy on the defensive end as well, only giving up 13 points a game. I look for it to be a slugfest up front, and whoever gets the most turnovers is going to win this game. I've got Michigan winning the close one, 20-17.
Okay, and that could be the Badgers because they're 7th in scoring defense at almost 12 points per game. They are 12th ranked overall in defense, yielding a total of 277 yards per game. So it's kind of like the the immovable force just clashing. Like you, I think it's going to be a lot of slugging it out on the line. Look for a trick play to maybe open it up, and that's something probably Harbaugh's already got designed. I'm going to go with Wisconsin, 23-21. And you are listening to Mac&Mac on the Grueling Truth Network. Okay, now here we go. Big game. ACC
the points
hits the spotlight. What's that?
I said, now here come the points.
Number 3, Louisville, at number 5, Clemson. Death Valley, and yet the Cardinals are 2-point favorites. I was shocked when I saw that line. I mean, surely Clemson should get a little more respect than that.
Death Valley is not an easy place to play. Clemson's been playing some great football this year. However, Louisville does have one of the best quarterbacks in the country, dual threat, Lamar Jackson. However, Clemson's got Deshaun Watson. You're going to see two great athletes at quarterback, being able to make throws down the field, also make plays with their feet as well.
This is also, when you think of not only just a team play, but when you look at the Heisman angle, you've got two of the primary recipients possible playing this game, and I'm wondering if they're going to feed off each other.
Well, and they possibly could. Clemson comes in with a better defense, actually shutting down the option attack of Georgia Tech last Thursday night, which was pretty impressive.
I just, Clemson coach Dabo Swinney, he's gone as far as calling this a pizzazz game. He didn't say it was must-win, but he's got his team inside the locker room, and he's talking about how it's very important. This is something you don't want to lose this game at home.
No, and you get a team like, obviously, number 5 Clemson playing number 3 Louisville at Clemson. I think you have to get up for that game, and you have to know if you're going to win, you're moving up probably in Louisville's position.
Okay, now, interesting, too, did some research here. The last time 2 top 5 teams entered Death Valley, it was a lousy performance for the Tigers. Just 3 seasons ago, third-ranked Florida State, the Seminoles came in, grabbed the Tigers by the tail, and thumped them. Clemson was number 5 at the time. Final score was 51-14. You don't think that's on Dabo's mind, and he's reminded the players that were part of that big loss? I mean, there's a lot going behind the scenes here in this game.
Oh, there is a lot going behind the scenes, and Dabo Swinney's one of the best coaches in college football, obviously, and I just look for him to have his team ready to go. And not saying that Louisville's not going to be ready to go, but I think Clemson's defense holds on at the end. You're going to see a lot of points in this one. I got Clemson 47, Louisville 42. I'm
a little bit lower, but I'm going to take the Cardinals. I've got Louisville a 38-31 winner. And I think it's going to be a fantastic. Got some great games this week. Really glad that you tuned us in. Keep listening, and thank you. This is Sean, and along with my son Ryne, we're Mac&Mac's college football program on the Grueling Truth Network.